All right, Rabbi, say good morning. Let us begin. So we are starting this morning in Tzidkas HaTzaddik. We are picking up in Os Ayin, and we left off on page Kuf Samich Ches. So remember again, just to orient ourselves a little bit, Rabbi Tzaddik was speaking about this incredible idea, namely that the area in life in which we experience profound deficiency is often the area of life in which we could find the greatest amount of strength. So Rabbi Tzaddik essentially is teaching us the idea that our weaknesses really highlight or show us what our potential strengths truly are. See, Rabbi Tzaddik gave a couple of examples of this. Today, we're going to focus on one incredible example. So if we're on page Kuf Samich Ches, the right-hand column in the Be'urei Chasidus, first paragraph on top, about 4 lines in. Va'al derech zeh, gam kin matzinu, masha amru chachaminu zal. We also find what Chazal said when they wrote, Shebiyom shenechrov bo habayis, the day on which the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, bo bayom nolad melech Mashiach. On the day in which the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, the Melech Mashiach was born. The Gemara says, Rabbi Tzaddik says, Hare shesh skula shedavka bizman kilkul yivale ba'atiku. Now, I'll tell you something amazing. Where do we get this idea? I mean, we've all heard of this idea, that on the day that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Mashiach was born, so it's Yerushalmi. He quotes it over here in paragraph Reish Nun Hey. It's actually a very beautiful Gemara. Let's take a look at it together. Yerushalmi. Uv dahava b'chad Yehudai, dahava koim radei. There was a particular Jew who was plowing with his ox. What happened? Ga'as tursei kumai. The ox let out a groan, whatever the groan of an ox is technically called. Right? The ox let out a groan. Avar chad arvai v'shamakala. It was an Arab who was passing by. He heard the ox making this sound. Amarle bar yudai, shari turecha v'shari kankanecha. The Hachariv Beis Mikdasha. Jew, go ahead and unhitch your ox and unhitch the plow because your Beis Hamikdash, your temple, has been destroyed. So the Arab was saying to the Jew, there's no point in doing anything. Your Beis Hamikdash has been destroyed. Gaz Zman Tniusa. So then the ox groaned a second time. Amarle bar yudai, katar turecha v'katar kadkanecha. Said, Jew, whatever we'll say, resaddle or reattach your ox to the plow. Dahayalid Malka Mashiach, for your Mashiach was just born. This is the source for this idea. So right, on one moment, the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed, and in the very next moment, Mashiach is born. Amarli Mashmei. So the Jew asks the Arab, what is the name of Mashiach? And to which the Arab responded, Amarle Mashmei Menachem. Ultimately, what's the name of the Mashiach? What's the name of this Mashiach? His name is Menachem. Amarle Mashma Davui. What's the name of Menachem, of Mashiach's father? Amarle Chizkiah. It's a very, the Gemara itself is a very gripping story. The Gemara then goes on to discuss how this particular Jew tried to do anything and everything in order to be able to find the Mashiach. The point of the story is that in the very moment that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, the Mashiach was born. Why? Because again, this is Rabbi Tzaddik's thesis, that from kilkul, from destruction, whether it's personal destruction or whether it's national destruction, in that destruction are the very seeds, are the very catalyst for dynamic, cathartic growth. So on a personal level, it's often because when we, as we mentioned already the last 2 days, when we sin and when we make mistakes and when we destroy ourselves, we begin to see what our weaknesses are. And when we see what our weaknesses are, now I know what I could work on. You know, it's very important. I was thinking about this a little bit. People rarely improve when life is going well. right? Usually, again, when everything is firing on all cylinders and everything's doing what it's supposed to do, people generally don't change. People change when things go horribly wrong. People change when they hit a brick wall. People change when they make mistakes. That's how change in life truly works. And that's what the Tzaddik is saying over here also. When is Mashiach born? Mashiach is born when the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed. When do Adam and Chava begin their redemption? When they're covered with the fig leaves, the very thing with which they sin. When do we begin to make dramatic changes in life? When we make mistakes and I realize, you know what? I'm pretty broken, or I'm broken in this area, or I'm deficient over here, and now I know exactly what it is that I have to fix. So Tzaddik goes on, he says, this is so beautiful. So the Gemara in Masechah Sanhedrin discusses the idea, from where do we know that there's a concept of Tchias HaMesim, resurrection of the dead? Where do I know that that concept exists? And the Tzaddik goes on and he says, the Gemara brings a number of different proofs. So the Tzaddik then goes on to say something so beautiful. He says, what is the concept of Tchias HaMesim? Think about this for just a moment. And this is such an interesting insight. What's Tchias HaMesim? Again, on a most basic level, something that is dead comes back to life. Why is Tchias HaMesim the paradigmatic example of what it is that occurs over the course of the Messianic era? Right? What is that? What is that? And the Tzaddik says something so beautiful. Tchias HaMesim is the paradigmatic example of the ability to take something that is broken and to go ahead and once again make it whole. Isn't that and that's why, what's the Emos HaMashiach? What is Mashiach all about? Mashiach is all about repairing the world. Mashiach is all about going ahead and repairing ourselves. We have to repair ourselves before Mashiach comes, right? Once Mashiach comes, often that opportunity is lost. But Lamaisra Tzaddik says, the fact that we have a concept of Tchias HaMesim tells you that no matter how badly something is broken, it can be repaired. Isn't that incredible? So each and every day in Shemona Esrei, right, we speak of if I believe in Mashiach, if I believe in Tchias HaMesim, if I believe that the dead could come back to life, then no matter what is broken inside of me can be fixed as well. He goes on, he says, take a look in the left-hand paragraph on page Kuf Samiches. Again, Tzaddik just goes on and he's just giving a number of examples like this, but the reason why it's kedai to go through the examples, even though they're all highlighting the same point, is because it is interesting to see how reinforced this concept is within our tradition. That you see example after example, situation after situation, where over and over again you see the notion that from that which is broken emerges that which is whole. From the mistakes we made, we learn how to build. From that which is dead has the ability to come back to life. He gives one last example, then we'll stop for today. He says, V'zeu inyan para aduma. He says, the inyan para aduma. Shebekocha letar esa adam itumas meis. What does para aduma have the ability to do? Para aduma has the ability to purify someone from ritual purity with a corpse. Tumas meis. Now, what's unique about that? Para aduma corresponds to which avera? To the Egel Azov, to the Chet Egel, to the sin of the golden calf. The sin of the golden calf, right? The Egel caused so much death and destruction. It caused so much terrible fallout. Not just the thousands of people who died because of the Chet Egel, but the stain that the Chet Egel left on the spiritual consciousness of Klal Yisrael, a stain that has followed us throughout the generations. And yet again, it's the Egla Arufa, it's the Para Aduma, right, the red heifer, that has the ability to cleanse us from the most profound, intense source of Tumah, from Tumas Meis. So once again, Rabbi Tzaddik says, from the destruction, from the weaknesses, from that which is broken, ultimately, again, we begin to see the ability, or the very building blocks, to go to repair. So Tzaddik goes on, But again, we'll say, well, we'll stop over here for today, but the yesod is a very profound one. Because very often when we make, on a personal level, when we make mistakes in life, so we look at them just as that, as mistakes. And clearly, again, this mistake is something that's broken in me, but we forget the second part of the sentence. Yes, the mistake represents or is a manifestation of that which is broken, of that which is deficient, of that which is in a state of disrepair. But now what's the bracha? The bracha is I know what to work on. I know exactly what to work on. I know exactly what my next area of growth has to be. And therefore, says Rabbi Tzaddik, that's the bracha of sin, if you can say such a thing like that. The bracha of chait is that now I know exactly what it is that I need to work on. I know what my avoda is, and therefore it turns out, says Rabbi Tzaddik, that chait itself becomes the very building block for personalistic growth. So stop over here. We'll pick up a Meir session with Ayin Aleph tomorrow. B'shah tova u'mitzlachos.